So we had a bit of a technical hitch, so I'll just repeat what I said before. Welcome to this session where we're going to hear from concerned parties around the local road reserve decision that we're making coming soon to council. This is just an opportunity for us to hear from anyone who wants to speak on this, and we're just looking forward to our first submitters coming in soon. Cool.
Thank you.
Welcome, Philip McIntyre, welcome. So you've got about 10 minutes to share your thoughts with us, and then we've got about 5 minutes for elected members to ask questions. So, yeah, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. There's a whole bunch of people in the room next door. Would be really good if we went around the table and everybody introduced themselves so that the people next door know who's here.
It's going to be a little bit difficult for them to see everybody on Zoom. We do have nameplates in front of us. Can you see those nameplates? Do you want to turn them around, everybody, so you can see?
Right.
Is that okay?
Well, it's not for us, it's for the people next door.
Yeah, who
Well,
can't
when
be
they
in here.
when they come in, they'll be able to see them. What I'll ask elected members to do is to say who you are before you ask a question. If you're asking a question, would that solve it?
That's
Great.
helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Holborough, for this opportunity to speak to you and councillors. I'm not alone when I seek your wholehearted support, please, and that of all councillors, to vote against the Moy Place road entry proposed for Moy Estate. For the record, I can report that we are most grateful for the solid support we have had from the Otaki Community Board and councillors. Their unwavering acknowledgement that the proposed Moy road entry will destroy the quiet cul-de-sac environment and jeopardise the safety of the well-used children's playground on the corner of Sue Ave and Moy Place is well placed. It will adversely impact lifestyles, enjoyment, safety and well-being. Because of the very poor design choice, it fails the RMA and district plan tests, which require developments to enhance community enjoyment, safety and well-being. An avoidable outcome for residents if adequate, prudent checks and balances had been in place at KCDC, and as other parcels of land are developed around this area without appropriate planning and forethought, residents of Sue Ave and Moy Place could well be accommodating vehicles for up to 1,000 residences over time. As residents, I have to report that we have experienced prejudice and bias from KCDC officials. I've documented these instances in numerous letters and emails. KCDC's processes must be examined, reshaped and aligned with the statutory requirements and obligations under the Local Body Act. This is the outcome we seek. Per the land sale notice, Moy Estate achieving coexistence and harmony with Totra Estate. As a resident, I can confirm that we have been blindsided by the actions of KCD over this development and the proposed Moy Place road entry. The letter of 26 June 2023 from Cuttress Consultants Limited came as a complete shock. The proposal revealed ultra vires actions taken by the developer and KCDC without a jot of concern for affected residents, ratepayers, their quiet enjoyment, their views or agreement. As provided for under the Local Government Act, this is most certainly not democracy in action. It was soon to be confirmed by them in writing as equally shocking to councillors, the Community Board, KCDC's CEO, iwi residents and the wider Otaki community. To date, the rights and expectations of affected ratepayers and residents in Moy Place and Suave and Main Road have been secondary to those of the developer. This is not a level playing field as provided for in statute under the RMA or LGA. There is no doubt whatsoever the voting public in Kapiti and beyond are watching this situation closely. When the developer and Cuttress commenced discussions with KCDC officials concerning the Moy Estate development, the work was being progressed under the RMA. The key operative requirement here is the statutory obligation under Section 36A. The applicant for a resource consent and the local authority each must comply with a duty under any other enactment to consult any person about the application. Let me just repeat that for you. The applicant for a resource consent and the local authority each must comply with a duty under any other enactment to consult any person about the application. In this instance, it's the Local Government Act 2002. I've written letters and emails to you spelling out these statutory processes have been ignored to date. In statute then, there are obligations, requirements and expectations for KCDC under the Local Government Act to elicit direction from elected councillors and Community Board, taking into consideration the aspirations of iwi, affected residents, ratepayers and the community. This would have and should have informed and guided dialogue with the developer, Bar Cuttress and KCDC officials meeting on the 1st of September 2022. I have no doubt whatsoever the Moy Place road entry would have been off the table. But it isn't, because KCDC did not do this work. Indeed, one might posit that this very meeting today ought to have been held prior to the 1st of September 2022. At a judicial review, these failures must be seen to be a failure of process. The past 16 months have been very frustrating and time-consuming, as no practical help has been provided politically to intervene and sort out the KCD administrative failures that led to this situation. None of this would have been necessary if sound due processes had been followed by KCDC officials. I believe preserving and protecting the character and fabric of Moy Place, Suave and Suave communities and providing a road-safe environment for our play area need to be top-of-mind considerations and priorities for councillors. And as endorsed by the Community Board resolutions, the community is 100% against the proposed road entry. That this development should not proceed is not the issue. Rather, it's the very poor roading design choice. The EPA's conditions clearly reflect the community's aspirations. Clause 143 logically demonstrates beyond all reasonable doubt that a main road entry is both viable and desirable. Clause 109 sends a very clear, unambiguous signal to councillors and the developer. The applicant bears any risk if the road reserve parcel is not dedicated as a road. Let me repeat that. The applicant bears any risk if the road reserve parcel is not dedicated as a road. I think that needs to be examined very closely. I'm hopeful that you will recall that I wrote to you on the 28th of November 2023, asking you to secure this land as reserve, like you did for Raumati Estate. I ask you again today, please, fulfil the democratic wishes of the community and vote against the proposed road entry. It is imperative that councillors publicly take the necessary steps to create an environment where ratepayers' trust in council to do the right thing shines. Local Government NZ tells us it's about local democracy, local choice, local accountability. Today, we're here meeting under the auspices of the Reserve Act. A plethora of statutory obligations under the Local Government Act have been ignored by KCDC. This is a fundamental breach of duties and obligations. It must be put right. Confidence must be restored, and it must be demonstrated by Council's actions that the Local Government Act is fit for purpose and works for the benefit of all: developers, ratepayers, residents, fairly and equitably in a timely manner. One where democratic values are sacrosanct. Properly planned developments are those that meet the RMA and district plan requirements, that enhance community enjoyment, safety and well-being, and not some other commercial imperative. Mayor Holbrow has assured me that Council is not swayed or influenced easily except by sound arguments and an understanding of our obligations as elected members. I'll hold each of you to that. The obligations here are clear. The decision-making must comply with and meet the RMA and district plan tests. It must accurately reflect the Local Government Act. Section 10, requirements for democratic decision-making and action by and on behalf of communities. The Otaki Community Board listened. The EPA listened carefully to our concerns and those of the wider community. Councillors too must listen, think and act. Please do the right thing. The planned Moy Estate...
How much more have you got to go? Because your time's actually...
Just a couple of minutes.
One page.
Yep, no problem. Keep going. Thank you.
The planned Moy Estate and Totra Estate can coexist. Sensible road access from Main Road must prevail. Of critical importance, this approach assures Moy Place and Sue residents ongoing community enjoyment, safety and well-being. The focus of this hearing is about those who have registered objections to the Moy Place road entry. It's good, therefore, to learn that out of fairness, Cutras have been given time to speak too. Hopefully, that is about critical design changes they are planning to meet and comply with the RMA and district plan requirements. Being heard and represented in the decision-making space is what we seek. We are grateful for the time you have given us today to hear our views. The Mayor and councillors are accountable to the people who elect them. We seek a fair and just outcome, one where our voices have been heard and obligations pursuant to the RMA and district plan have been fulfilled. The Moy Place Road Reserve proposal must not proceed. Thank you for the opportunity and taking the time to hear our concerns.
Thank you, Philip. Does anybody have any questions for Philip? Councillor Wilson.
Nigel Wilson, by the way, I should introduce myself. Thank you very much for that, Philip. A question: the Totara estate, if I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot here, and I don't know if this work's being done, but given this model here, has there been an assessment about what that might cost the developer if they were to go on this route compared to what it is that they want to do?
So this was the original for sale notice for the subdivision.
Yep.
I'm not aware if any costings were done. We certainly haven't done any.
Right. Okay.
But that was the original plan.
This was the original plan here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And last question for me is, because this is kind of like part of the puzzle, but at the top of that, we've got another handy little map, but there's another development that's going to go at the top of that as well, right?
Potentially that may happen in the future, and there's one off to the left as well.
Yeah.
A subsequent speaker is actually going to show that map.
Yeah.
And that's where all these additional houses and the additional traffic comes from, which we would prefer not to have.
Right. So presumably this kind of modelling here, that would be more likely to facilitate that future development if a road was to run right around, right?
Traffic flow is correct.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's it for me. Thank you very much, Joe.
Rob Coford,
Thanks,
Councillor
Madam
Coford.
Chair. Councillor Rob Coford. Thanks, Philip. Councillor Wilson just alluded to my question. You mentioned further developments outside the existing development, and should they proceed, apparently the one to the west goes all the way to Mill Road, and the one to the south is an industrial site at the moment. All of those potentially could link up to the development and potentially go through Moy Place, which hasn't been pointed out to date.
No.
Thank you.
No,
No, and there's certainly in the developer's plan the access to those points.
Jocelyn Pravanov, Councillor Pravanov.
Through the chair, thank you, Philip, for your presentation today. I'm just wondering if you are happy for your presentation as well as your written submission to us now to be circulated to us councillors.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I'm happy to release you the speech notes, you mean? Or
Yes,
yeah?
we've got your written submission.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
More than happy. I will send the speech notes through. Do they go to you, Chris, I presume?
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? I've just got one. So I'm just looking at this map that's in front of us here, and the width of the road that's housing all those houses and the upcoming development on this plan, it's looks about the same width as Sue Ave and Moy Place. So it's just in the submissions it wasn't quite clear to me what makes Sue Ave and Moy Place unsuitable. I'm hearing it said that it's unsuitable, but apart from the effect on the residents, is there any design or width or any features of the road that make it unsuitable for that
The next
level of
speaker
traffic?
the next speaker is going to speak around the topic of the,
I'll wait for that. Great.
transport report we got done, and the mitigations will need to be undertaken by the developer at their cost.
Okay, I'll wait for that presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shelley Warwick, Councillor Warwick.
Just in regard to your question, Janet, it's that plan is not for as many developments. Is that correct?
That's
So
Sorry, we've got
be-
an upcoming speaker apparently, and I'm happy with the answer I've received. Thank you, Councillor Warwick. So not seeing any further questions. Another one from Nigel.
just because we're addressing two people. Philip, who's your mate?
Oh, sorry.
I'm a resident as well. I didn't think it was fair that he came in on his own. So, yeah, I'm a resident of Sioux Avenue.
Yep.
And, there's probably another 25 residents out there.
Yeah. Oh no, cool. Just wanted. Yeah.
They all wanted to see you.
Yes,
They weren't allowed in.
they wanted to fill these chairs.
Oh, look, let's let them fill the chairs. Bring them in.
All right?
Right,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Let's-
I think
yeah,
that would be
Thank
really
you.
good.
yeah,
Let's make it a proper hearing.
yeah, thank you.
That's a hearing, yeah.
It isn't, it's not a hearing though. But yeah, no, I'm going to just,
It's an information gathering exercise. hope it worked.
No, Nigel said I'm sort of running over here in terms of the format that's happening.
Okay, so we're starting to run a bit late, but that's all right. We'll just go is there anybody here who's under time pressure, like they're not able to stay later than the allocated time? Because we are running a little bit behind schedule now. Great. So I'll reiterate what I said at the start. This is an opportunity for us to hear from concerned parties. It's not a formal hearing, though it feels a bit formal. It's a open, interactive session so that we can hear from each of you. And I would appreciate it if there isn't reaction or applause or anything like that from the public gallery. We're just here to have a respectful conversation. And please respect others with differing views to yourselves as well. Because we're all in the same room and we have certain standards that we adhere to as councillors and elected members, and we expect the same from members of the public. So with that, I'll go on to Lyle. Lyle Payne, come to the table, please.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Lyle toka wingoa, Lyle Payne. Thank you very much for this opportunity. As you can see, I've kind of labelled my presentation Preserve the Reserve. I just want to say that public speaking is not my forte. My voice will probably begin to quaver shortly with fear and trepidation.
Well, we just organised you a bigger crowd.
Great, thank you. I just want to cover a couple of little things. First, this has been a long, stressful process. It's been 18 months. It's involved a lot of stuff. Our links with the local community board have been fantastic, I have to say. With KCDC, expert consultants that we've hired, responding to reports and comments, media involvement, EPA submissions, petitions. Thanks, Cam. And I do regular residence updates as well. And it's taken its toll on people, certainly on both mental and physical health. I've not escaped that myself. And I also, in this right now, just want to acknowledge my next door neighbour, Murig Lewis, who would have been a speaker here today. However, he passed away just a couple of days after he got his submission in. I'll probably miss things in my notes and think of them 5 minutes later, but never mind. I just want to point out too that I've got a document here, 2 pages, signed by every single household in Moy Place and Sue Avenue. So I'd like to leave that with the council as it goes. So every resident has signed a document simply saying, I strongly object and oppose any change to the status of the land at the end of Moy Place, cul-de-sac or Taki. So my next slide is basically, well, who am I? All I really bring to this, I'm a full-time employee. I still work full-time, so I have to take time off work to do to be here, this kind of thing. But all I want to say that all I bring to this table, I have no agendas whatsoever, is integrity and respect for my local community and residents and the environment in which I live. So, welcome to our community. Just as an indicator from me, can I see hands up from everybody who has actually been down to the end of Moy Place or been in the area in the last few months? Oh, cool, that's impressive. Thank you very much indeed. So that's a piece of land that's in question. You see there at the end there. Now I've put that middle slide in basically to show that if you can see where it comes off the highway right down the bottom of that, just after that first double property, which was the Sue property, after which the street's named, Mr. and Mrs. Sue have just moved from that property. There's a space to the right. That's a roadway to become a connection into all that land, which is part of the Mr. and Mrs. Cash's property. So there's already an intention that additional traffic comes off through there. And there's, of course, on the left-hand side of Sue as you enter, there's a large piece of land, whose owner is sitting in the room at the moment, may be sold at some stage, and that would probably, it's half the size of this development, so that could have as many as, what, 137 times half, more houses along there on the left-hand side of the road too. So there's a lot of room for potential growth there anyway. And of course, this extension has roadways going further towards the riverbank, and there was one further to the north. It does seem to have altered a couple of times throughout the process. However, yeah. So just in terms of the community, we're a diverse group. Of course, most people here today are retired because they can actually come along. So the working families, the ones with young kids, which we have a number of, can't be here either. Just want to say a big thank you, KCDC, for that park. It's amazing. It's being used incredibly at the moment. Yes, it's new because it's just been redone. Parking is pretty bad by people, I have to say. some hairy parking happening at the moment. Yes, so I'll just move on to our, talk about traffic safety. The traffic safety is and especially related to the playground, is one of our biggest concerns. Now, as I said, we have got external experts involved. The community spent $27,000 to date on work that we felt that we should not have had to have done. We got a transport report done by Harriet Fraser. The title of it's there. I really do urge you to look at that link on the EPA website because it is an amazingly detailed and it focuses on traffic safety. So we had this done. We approached KCDC with a view to working with staff. However, it was an unusual meeting, and shortly, well, 3 weeks later, we're still trying to get, but they agreed to review that document for us. They said, oh no, we won't, we'll go and do one of our own. So they did. And it was totally based on modelling. In fact, I might have had an extra one in there as well too, the Wignall Transport Futures report. But anyway, we went off to Tonkin Taylor and got a report done, which had absolutely no reference to safety whatsoever, because our concerns were the safety of that children, the toddlers on that playground, on that corner. It's a very blind corner when you're coming out of Moy and onto Sue. And there was no reference to safety in that Tonkin Taylor report whatsoever. So Monique Leith and Harriet Fraser, who we had engaged, met with KCDC staff and following some guidelines and acknowledgement that it didn't cover safety, following some guidelines or instructions for a safe system assessment, KCDC then went and got another one done with Urban Connections, which on completion was provided to the developers, but not to the residents. EPA happened to do a transport report as well too, but a lot of it was modelled, and it was worked as if the new highway, expressway, wasn't even opened, so it uses really bad information. NZTA were disappointing in that they applied absolutely strict status of the current status of the road, and reported it as such. There was no consideration that the status of that road would change, that it would end up with as a local council road. So we felt that a lot of the traffic advice and also the traffic counts, which were modelled, were not realistic. Harriet got people to stand at the end of the street and count the cars. So we feel that ours was pretty accurate. Now, one of these reports came up with said that the number of car traffic movements would move from about 300 to 400 today to about 1,600 today, 18 or 1,900 per day. And they said that change was negligible and would barely affect residents. And that we probably wouldn't notice because we live in the back parts of our properties, not the fronts. We thought that was just an absolutely disrespectful reaction. I'll just move on to the next slide. Okay, I'm just going to deal with the elephant in the room. Judicial review. I mean, I'm sure everyone's scared of this, but look, we do need to be clear, I do not think that judicial review would stand scrutiny. The process that's happened would stand scrutiny of a judicial review. And that is a path that we too could potentially consider, just as anyone can do. Because I think Phil touched on it, today it almost feels like the beginning of the consultation with residents. We really haven't had this involvement, which we would have expected. You've had copies of the petitions that we made to EPA and have been put into your submissions. We did try. We tried through the community board, and we were even promised meetings and promised that KCDC works with local communities much better now. It has a program in place, but we never got anywhere. But we're all very conscious of the reservoir, stuff up the Gorge Road. We don't want that process again. So I'll flick that slide off because it's not a path anyone wants to go down. So really, I want to leave you with two concepts, I guess, and that is common sense and compassion. Iwi have put a report in. They say that to bring all that traffic through Moy and Sue is disrespectful to the lifestyle of the local residents. The playground safety is a huge issue for us. That piece of land is it's a lien on that piece of land when that land was first sold. KCDs have in the past tried to alter that and contacted the guy in France who first sold that, and he said absolutely no, that stays as a child's playground. The answer to safety for some of the reports was just put a white line around the corner and a give way sign for those coming out of Sue, and that give way sign would just go straight across the front of Ellen's driveway. That's not really a very good idea. There's the issue of the carbon footprint. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a recording. I was hoping to get a recording of Dr. Quinton Highgate. He's a Massey University lecturer who lives between Sue and where this entranceway would be if it was at 33 Main. A great concern about why have all the cars come all that extra distance down Sue, around the corner, down Moy, when it could just come straight off the highway.
If you could wrap up shortly, that'd be good.
Yes, I have one more slide. Yeah, I will skip the rest of that and just move on to the last page. Again, the focus is on asking you to preserve that reserve. Repeating the fill again there, the applicant bears any risk if the road reserve pass is not dedicated as a road. So it was made absolutely clear to the developer by the EPA that that's where this stood. Yeah, so it's a unique little subdivision, Otaki. There's only one other place even remotely like it, down Lupin Road. Yeah, I would just finally like to thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank the Otaki Community Board, who've been really behind their people. And 100%, I have never found anyone yet who says it's a good idea to have this access down Sue and Moy. Not one person. Thank you very much indeed.
Right, do I have any questions? So this resource consent went through a fast track process. You're aware of the consultation requirements around that and how they're different from what might usually occur? Just heard a couple of comments about this being the first opportunity and things like that. So just wanting to make sure you're aware of that. Yep. Councillor Wilson, Nigel Wilson?
Yep. Nigel Wilson. Thank you very much, Lyle. The question I had is have residents now had the urban connection report, the one that was consequent of Tonkin Taylor? Have you had?
I've not seen it.
You still not received that yet? Is there any particular reason why you wouldn't have received it, do you think?
Sorry, hang on a minute, no.
Yeah. It's just that deals specifically with, because that deals specifically with safety, yeah, I would have assumed that report would be available.
It's on the MPI website.
Oh, it is?
MPA website,
Oh,
sorry.
right, okay. Okay, and the other thing, I'm not going political here, I just want to, for myself personally, because I've spoken to some of the residents, I just want to acknowledge that the last 18 months that would have been incredibly stressful and costly. So, and I think all councillors acknowledge that's been a really difficult time. So, just noting that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he's speaking for all of us when he says that. Yeah. Jocelyn Pravanov?
Thank you to the Mayor. Thank you, Lyle, for coming along today. I asked our previous speaker this, and I've asked this of you as well as the next two speakers. Are you happy to provide your presentation today as well as the...
Certainly. I'll type out my notes because I handwrote all of my notes, but I'm certainly... I'd be keen to do that and provide that to everybody, absolutely.
Thank you, and your presentation.
And the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. So now we have Mrs. Margaret Turnbull I have on my list.
Good afternoon. I am Margaret Turnbull and I live at 16 Sue Avenue.
Margaret, would you be able to just grab the top of your microphone and pull it down a bit? Or, Coops, could you help with that? Just pull it down. Yeah.
Right.
There we are. Then we'll be able
Well,
to hear
anyway, here I am, I'm Margaret Turnbull again.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I live at 16 Sue Avenue. With regard to a request for a change to the status of the land at the end of Moy Place, Otaki, in order to facilitate entry to a subdivision for the building of 137 homes, I have observed over the recent school holidays the newly upgraded playground has been patronised by families from daylight till dusk. Vehicles have been parked on both sides of Moy Place and Sue Avenue. Obviously, families consider it to be a safe place for children to enjoy outdoor activities. Should the entrance to a development of 137 homes go past their playground, there will be tragedies and grief. Is that what you want? That's all I have to say.
James Unwin? Sorry, we just going through some administrative stuff. Yeah, to start when you're ready.
All right. You'll have to excuse me. I've just come back from the dentist and I've just had a crown put in, so I'm struggling slightly. But from my point of view, what I would say to you is that in terms of Moy Place and the piece of land at the bottom of Moy Place, I have grandchildren and I have children that visit with their grandchildren to that playground on the corner. What is really good, and I thank the council for this, is that the upgrade to that playground is superb, and it is certainly being used, as Margaret said, to a greater and much greater extent. The issue for me is we can talk about the statutes, we can talk about process, but to me, it's an emotive issue. The emotive issue is child safety. I watch the children that play in that ground, and what they do is some of them just run out, some of them go there on skates, on scooters. If there were to be 1,600 car movements going down that road per day, compared with what happens at the moment, and I'm not sure where the 300 to 400 comes from, because the number of residents on that Moy Place, I would suggest that there would be no more than 100 movements of cars coming down there, and a lot of them first thing in the morning and first thing at night. So from my point of view, what I'm asking each of you, and you are, as I understand it, the representatives of the community. What I'm asking each of you is to be that representative, to think about our children, think about our grandchildren, and put safety top of mind with this. And I would plead with you to not allow this change to occur. And that's from a grandfather of 8 grandchildren. And, well, there is 9 now. We have got another young baby. And we would like all of them to be able to visit this park safely. So that's my plea to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, there's a couple of questions, I think.
Sorry, we got some questions, James.
Sorry, James.
If you could pop back up again.
I'm here.
Sophie Hanford, Councillor Hanford.
Yeah, kia ora, I'm the Paikakiri Ki Raumati Ward Councillor. Just going to the comments that both yourself and Margaret have made, in terms of the kids and young people spending time at the playground, are those mainly kids of whānau family who live in Suab and Moy Place, or people travelling?
There's a lot more now travelling, because they've heard about it.
Yeah.
Because it was on the Otaki Today page.
Yeah, okay. And also, as you said, like family members who are visiting.
Yes.
Residents in the 2 streets. Okay, awesome, thank you.
I might just add that once the Moy Place development takes place, children will want to come from there to use the playground as well. Very nice playground.
It is. And as I say, I would like to congratulate the council and KCDC for what they've done with that playground.
Shirley Warwick, Councillor Warwick.
My question is around the safety report. Lyle might be able to answer this, or you might be able to. Was there any specific focus on the safety of the kids in the traffic reports done by Tonkin and Taylor? Or
We haven't seen the Tonkin and Taylor report.
Okay. The first report then, was there anything specific?
There was nothing on safety in the very first report that was done, but in the report that we had done, there was a concentration on the safety.
Of children
Yes.
specifically?
Yep.
Okay.
Because we have children well, we have babies as well, because mums take their babies there and put them on the swing and things like that, but very young children.
I can just add, the focus of the playground was initially an infant's playground, 2 to 5-year-olds. When it was refurbished, there was some pretty serious equipment for a 2 to 5-year-old, and a question this KCDC said it was for 2 to 5-year-olds plus older. Now certainly it is used by that whole range. The traffic safety report prepared by Harriet Fraser, talks about having places midway across some parts of Sue, parts of Moy, so that children, especially younger children, get to that point and then across. And that was also a feature for elderly crossings of that road as well too, with increased traffic. So yes, there is some focus on safety for children.
So because we're on safety, is one of your concerns that traffic is going to travel at speed down there? And would traffic calming be of any?
So at the moment, there are 10
Comfort.
houses, dwellings in Moy Place. So the number of traffic movements is very, very low. And the people that live there know there's a child's playground there. I mean, I come down Sue very slowly. So do the other residents of Moy. They come down very slowly, knowing there's a playground there, and there's just a few of us. Our concern is that if that is opened up to 137 houses, possibly with 2 vehicles each, people going to work, getting home to work from work, they just want to get there. They're not going to be as focused as the current residents of Moy in slowing down to ensure that they're prepared and that there's potential for a child to be suddenly on the street.
Okay, thank you. Rob Coford, Councillor Coford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, James. It might be helpful just to give us a bit of a background about the ownership, and I believe the playground was gifted to the community. Is that right?
That's what I understand. I haven't read the documentation, but I do know that during the process of, I think when the development was begun and the original developer went bust, and because I understand that's why there's no gas in the street and why we had gas bottles, because there was something tied up with that, that council was going to do away with that park, so possibly before the first one was even built. But there is a lien on that piece of land. This has been relayed to me by residents who have lived there the whole 14, 15 years that the development's been there. And they just approached this person who sold the land originally. They were living in France. They tracked them down, and he said no, that was to remain as a park.
Oh, thank you, Lyle. Yeah. So that it's there in perpetuity by way of lien. Thank you.
That's our understanding.
Nigel Wilson.
Thank you very much, James and Lyle. The councillors will obviously have to wrestle with the technicalities of this at some point. Back in 2006, when this first came up, were residents, how aware were residents that there was a possibility that the road reserve could be changed to become a road, and how much do you think things have changed since 2006, which is 18 years ago, that might have impact on that decision that was made back then?
Okay. So my understanding, again from long-term residents, is that yes, there was an expectation when they purchased that could open up and be extended, but it was likely to be as many as 40 houses of like style. Now, what's changed since is yes, there was government push to build houses and get a lot of houses built quickly, but absolutely nobody back then would have considered that would be the density of like 137 houses in that small in that size area.
Okay. And James, I take your point. Every time you look around, there's another grandchild. You've experienced that myself. Also, I'm assuming, and we were talking about safety, and we're talking about safety of small children at this playground. As one who entertains grandchildren myself, I do know that for every grandchild, there's at least one, and maybe two grandparents as well. So is that? I'm assuming that's a similar situation here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Thanks, James. So we're going to now just take a short break. Actually, 5 minutes. That's what's on my schedule, so I'm going to stick to it. we're actually running a bit ahead of schedule as well. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. If you've spoken already or you feel like you've heard everything you want to hear, you don't need to stay, but feel free to stay if you'd like to. So yeah, we'll see you back in 5 minutes.